What's going on? Welcome back to Planet Podcast. This review is going to be about The Terminal List. Now, Terminal List is on Prime Video, starring Chris Pratt. Came out July 1st. Awesome series. I cannot recommend this enough. If you have not seen it, there will be maybe some spoilers along the way. So be careful how far you watch the video. If you have seen it, we can definitely get into it. I actually binge watched the entire series in one night. It was a long night. I started watching it and I just couldn't stop. Doesn't help that it does just keep going. But 8 episodes long, hour-long episodes. It was quite a lengthy night. But this show keeps you engaged. If you ever watched Jack Reacher or saw my review on Reacher, this is everything that Reacher should have been. And Chris Pratt did an amazing job playing this role. Honestly, all the characters that were cast, or all the actors that were cast as the characters in the show, did a phenomenal job of keeping you engaged. The plot didn't seem like too overboard with, a lot of military spec movies or things of that nature can be kind of like just blown out, over exaggerated. And I felt like this one was within the realm of plausibility. Let's keep it that way. It was kind of like I use the example of Extraction. You've got the Hemsworth movie where he just gets the absolute crap kicked out of him, shot, beat, broken, and nothing seems to stop him no matter what happens to the character. And I felt like this show didn't represent that. I felt like it represented more of a realistic idea of what would happen throughout some of these altercations, especially the physicality of it. I feel like they were pretty true to course with that, which I did appreciate. The overall plot, like I said, does seem somewhat plausible. And for those of you who haven't seen it, the gist of it is that Chris Pratt's character is part of a SEAL team platoon, goes overseas, part of a mission that goes bad. He's the only one from the platoon that comes back. Everyone else is killed on the mission, and people around him kind of start dying as well, and he is suspicious of it. His memory isn't quite the same. His recalling of events and what is on record isn't the same, and he starts looking into it, thinking someone's out to get them. Someone's coming after them, and he wants to know why. You can pause right there if you haven't seen the show, because I don't want to give away too more than what happens. Now, obviously, the first, second episode, there's a lot. There's just a lot that unfolds. So I don't really want to give it away. But I will say a lot of what happens throughout this show is plausible. And they do a great job of just reeling you in and keeping you engaged in the plot. And it is a progressive plot. So it's one person that leads to another episode after episode. It's not really so much a cliffhanger so much as it is just a gateway to the next episode, which I did really appreciate. So if we really want to break down some of the stuff that I thought was well done, the plot of this entire series, first of all, you're thinking there's no way it can really get that deep. And it is. It is a deep plot. It goes through many caveats, from the basic FBI handlers to the military handlers to the CEO, to the government contracts, to everything that's kind of involved in this big conglomerate of shit that unfolds. And what would someone do to cover it up? Because I think a lot of us look at conspiracies and go, well, maybe, look, this was a shot from somebody who can kind of remember it differently. And as a top tier operator, someone whose whole life has been trained in violence, right? That's his entire job, is to analyze and assess violence. And you look at it and go, all right, well, what would you do if you were in this position? Like, I feel like it's really well done. And it reminded me actually a lot of SEAL Team in a way of the reality of it. And I actually cannot wait for SEAL Team to come back. Lord help me. That thing's a couple months out, we'll get SEAL Team back. But this show did an amazing job of following it, keeping you engaged, keeping it real enough to be plausible and believable, and keeping you on your toes all the way to the end of the first season. I don't really even know where they would go into another season of it, but if they did make another one, they left it kind of open. But all the way to the end where you go, oh, okay. You don't really even get it until the very last 10 minutes of the series, and you go, that's dirty. And you start connecting all the dots. Now, as we watch the show, we do start to connect some of the dots ourselves because we get to see various aspects of it unfold from our point of view, where the characters aren't going to be privy to that. So some of it was definitely, as it got toward the end, and he really starts getting a little bit banged up. You're like, man, how far can he go? And you start to think, oh, that doesn't seem realistic. And then you have to remember that you've got people out there that have been through this. The lone survivor story, Marcus Luttrell. I mean, these are real humans that have been through hell and back and have lived to talk about it. And so while some of it might seem a little bit far-fetched, it's really not that crazy to think that they can pull this off. And it's not just some average Joe Schmoes going out there and trying to hunt people down and make them pay. And I really appreciated the way that this show was filmed, the way that it was produced and directed. They just did an absolute bang-up job. And I cannot emphasize this enough. If you haven't seen the show, go watch it. Hands down, one of the best series of the summer. I might even watch it again. It was so good. So, Terminal List on Prime Video. If you want to talk about it more in depth, we can do episode by episode. Leave me some comments if you want to get that. Other than that, Chris Pratt, dude, I never would have thought that the goofy guy from The Office, or not The Office, the goofy guy from Parks and Rec would be a lead action star. But man, talk about an evolution of an actor. He did an absolute bang up job on this show. So check it out. Like and subscribe to the channel. Leave me some comments. Let's talk about it. We can talk more in depth. Like I said, we can do it episode by episode if we want to recant some of it. I don't want to give too much away, but I think that would also be fun. So overall series, 10 out of 10, hands down. One of the best series of the summer. Peace out.